So the first one I want to mention is a movie from the 1950s that I had heard a little bit about, but I feel like still a lot of people have not seen and are not really familiar with, and from a director that I think is one of the great underrated greats of this era, Vincente Minnelli, and the movie is The Bad and the Beautiful. Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. It's one that I put on my list, but it's been so long since I've seen it. My memory of it is kind of vague because I saw it when I was in school, so it was like 15 years ago now. But like, I remember loving the movie and really liking how dark it goes.
Ever since I saw it, I was like, more people need to know about this movie. This is a great one. It stars Kirk Douglas as a film producer. He kind of starts at the bottom of the industry, produces a series of B movies that make a lot of money and that elevate him to the status of like a major player in Hollywood. He starts making these bigger and bigger productions. He becomes very powerful, very influential. And over the course of his career, he kind of ends up exploiting and betraying and ruining the lives of almost everyone around him and everyone close to him. The basic bones of the story were actually taken from the life and career of, or I should say the life, I don't think Val Lewton was this bad, but from the career of Val Lewton, who was the famous producer of a lot of really innovative horror movies of the 1940s, like especially this movie Cat People, which was really groundbreaking for the time in its creative use of cinematography and sound effects to create horror and tension on screen and suggesting more than it shows. So Kirk Douglas's character ends up producing movies that are very similar to Cat People, and his career sort of follows a trajectory that in basic outline is very like Val Lewton's, but then kind of starts to depart from there. It's told mostly in flashback of the three most major figures in his life meeting with him again to talk about a new production, and all of them carrying a lot of baggage and all of them saying like, do we really want to meet with this guy again after what he did to us? And through three separate flashbacks, we get their whole histories with this guy. And we get sort of a similar story with each one, that it starts out very fun and innocent and with just, we're going to make movies, we're going to make great movies. And then as it becomes more about power and money, things start to turn dark and twisted. And this guy starts making a lot of choices that make it very clear that he's fairly amoral and a pretty awful guy. But the movie also adds the irony that he's a great producer, and that the things he does, as morally bankrupt they are on a personal level, they do end up being the right choices for the film. And they advance his career and give him more success and more respect within the industry, but they destroy his personal relationships. So it's kind of a movie looking at the cost of making great films in Hollywood, that, you know, the mentality sort of has to be the movie above all, but then you leave all this wreckage in your wake. It's a very, very dark film, a very cynical film, but a really great film.
Usually when Hollywood would make a reflexive movie, something about itself, it would be kind of more like something like Singing in the Rain, which is on my list. I love Singing in the Rain, but it's absolutely celebratory. It's very squeaky clean, and like everybody is smiling and they face problems like, oh no, the sound is changing the industry. What are we going to do? But it's a very like romp kind of pursuit of and a very like pure version of how Hollywood works and the way people within the industry communicate and collaborate with each other. You know, there is like the problem actress in Singing in the Rain that they sort of have to like work around and deal with, but it doesn't really get real in the way that something like Bad and the Beautiful does. That actually feels like, from what I remember, it was very, very felt very rooted in experience of like somebody who had kind of seen how that dynamic works, of like that rise to power and the process of alienating important people in your life. and wanting to tell a story that was like authentic to that, of how, you're in the industry of entertainment and making everything appear like the world is just fine, and that you can go to escape, but behind all of that is just as much anger and just as much pain as reality, as anyone's reality, if not more. Maybe you could see it as a companion to something like Singing in the Rain, where it's like that's the fun version. That's like the industry changing and the idealized version of Hollywood. But then you got something on the other end of like kind of the darker twist. And I remember that one really fondly, but I really would like to see it again after what you've said about it.
And I think it should also be said, Singing in the Rain, also a great movie, like on the opposite end of the spectrum tonally from The Bad and the Beautiful, but also great.
It's one of those movies it's completely irresistible. I don't know who you could show this to and they would like it, unless you really hate musicals. I don't know who wouldn't like Singing in the Rain.